Good evening, everyone. This is our third trial, Lucky 3. And it's Monday, so it's kind of acceptable. It's fine. It's live TV, and that's what the experience of the last couple of months showed. Perfection is so last year. So fresh energy. Looking forward to this week. My name is Rita, and I'm one of the founders of WHTT, aka Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech. And so before we start our interview with Thomas Finn, who is the director of Edwards and Finn, let me just give a couple of shout outs here. We have two new members in our team, Tan Lu, who has joined us as Strategic Partnership Manager, and Devi Verdi, who has joined us recently as Head of Diversity and Inclusion. So we are looking forward to take more organizatory actions towards building a pillar within our organization. I wanted to particularly give again a shout out to Chris Allen, follow Chris Allen 85, for going solo with his company and providing diversity and inclusion workshops, not only within the hospitality industry, but across all the sectors. We had the pleasure with Chris, to do one of the role model interviews. So if you want to get to know Chris's life story, please go back to our IGTV videos and listen my snapshot with Chris. Hi Tan, thank you so much for joining as well. So now we're going to welcome Thomas Finn, who is the director of Edwards and Finn Recruiting. And crossing fingers here. In the meantime, now that Tan joined, very important, we are launching our Q4 survey for our WHTT members. So please visit our website, womenhoteltraveltech.com, and fill out the survey so we are able to assist you in the future better. Hi, Tom.
Hello. Technology, eh?
Just genuinely happy to see you.
Genuinely happy to see you too, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. We made this happen. Lucky 3. Never walk out on a chance for a live interview. And I mean, and from the chats that we had behind the scenes, you have quite a life story that I think needs to be showcased more and more and more.
Appreciate
so that. Yeah, just take a breather.
Yeah.
And can you introduce yourself and what you're doing first?
Sure. Okay. Well, hello everybody that's sort of tuned in. My name's Thomas Finn, otherwise known as just Tom is fine. I am the owner and director of Edwards and Finn, which is a specialist revenue management and commercial analytics recruitment firm. But I'm also the host of E&Ftv, which is a weekly show that raises awareness of not only revenue management, but also the wider commercial functions within hospitality. I also guest lecture, it just feels like I'm reeling off things here, but I also guest lecture at a number of top ranking universities in terms of revenue management as a career path, and also conducting wider, I suppose, educational workshops at those unis as well. So that's me, I suppose. That's what I do.
Oh, great. And so how does one get to this point in their life of doing revenue management recruiting and running live shows? So what did you study? Where did your journey start?
So I was born in Blackpool, believe it or not. You would never tell because of my accent, but I was actually born in Blackpool, north of England. But I lived just outside of London in Hertfordshire, so North London, for sort of 26, 27 years. And then I've now recently moved back up north. I went to school at my local sort of secondary school, well, primary and then secondary school, close to where I lived in Hertfordshire. I did okay, but I was actually a father at 17. Not expected, believe it or not. So I did actually manage to get into university, and I did my first year, and unfortunately it just became too much trying to juggle all these different things all at the same time. I then did what any person would do, I suppose, or gentleman in my position, I got a job. It was pretty much doing anything. I worked in factories, I worked night shifts and everything else. And then I got my first proper job actually within a hotel.
Oh.
I did conference services and became a conference services supervisor at the De Vere Latimer Place, which is about half an hour away from where I lived at the time with my parents. And that sort of, in a strange way, it sort of grounded me with a lot of different skills in terms of dealing with people face to face, problem solving. There was a lot of problems within conferences within that hotel in terms of sort of all manner of different things. And that sort of grounded me in a lot of ways into lots of different areas. Then I moved into a large corporate bank and started dealing with people over the phone. And then from there, I moved into my first recruitment job. My first one was within educational recruitment. Then I changed and went into a specialist financial planning and wealth management recruitment firm, which was a lot more of a targeted headhunting approach, which then led me to my last employer, which was a revenue management recruitment firm. And I've got to be honest, like, it was a sort of finance, revenue management and office support, and I headed up and sort of drove their revenue management, I suppose, function. And then due to the relationships that I built within the hospitality industry, and I always say this every time I've ever been in a group of people or doing anything in terms of speaking or anything, I've always said that I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the people in our industry in terms of the revenue management and commercial leaders, because they're the ones who encouraged me to go self-employed. They're the ones who said, you could do this.
Oh, how cool.
They really propped me up, and I've been forever grateful. I get to do something that I really love, and I get to do it for myself with my own brand. And
you have quite a setup always there.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I pride myself on it. But it's a very strange one. I wasn't ever in the position to be in this position, and I feel very grateful and very humbled to the fact that I am able to do what I'm doing now. Especially coming from the background that I had. It was difficult, but we got there in the end.
How does you are talking about your background? What do you mean by background? So the professional background, personal, private background? No,
the having a child very young gives a lot of people a perception of you at a very immediate sort of standpoint, I think. It's one of these things where it's never something that generally comes up into conversation. If people know me, then I obviously tell them. But there's from a young age anyway, there was a lot more of a judgment upon me, upon who I am, and upon my, I suppose, everything I was. And I was always so conscious of that. In fact, I probably am still now, to be honest with you. And I think that stems from, the situation I was in, the complete lack of support, I think, from the education standpoint, from my circles at the time. It was just a very difficult thing, and it just turned into hard graft, an incredible amount of hard graft, and a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, to try and figure out how exactly I was going to be able to succeed at anything, if I'm completely honest with you. Wow, that felt so depressing. I'm so sorry. But it probably was.
Tan just actually saying, totally agree, Tom. I had the same experience, and Tom is from Manchester.
Right.
So.
No, then great. There's somebody else on the call that feels the same way. So yeah, it was ingrained in me from, being a boy, 17 years old, not knowing what I wanted to do, not knowing where I wanted to go, just knowing that I didn't have enough money to pay for anything. I remember when I got I apologize here, I'm going to go off on a bit of a story, but it's a bit of an important one in my development anyway. I forever, and this is getting really deep, but I forever focused on trying to prove that my life wasn't over. That was my own goal. It was just, you know, it wasn't going to end now. And both my parents, they owned their own businesses, very successful businesses. My dad's now retired and he's sold his business and all the rest of it. And he was the one that I wanted to impress, because I always saw him driving the nice car and having the nice things and supporting his family. And I was very much, I needed to tick those boxes. If I didn't tick those boxes, then I failed. And I remember when I was 24, I believe, I was 24 years old, and I was taking my son to and from school in a suit, because I didn't want other parents to know that I didn't have a job where I wasn't wearing a suit, because if they saw a young guy with a child dropping them off at school, then they would immediately think, well, he's just another statistic. He's just another lost soul, really. So I was taking my son to and from school with, you know, wearing a suit that I didn't actually need to wear. And then I bought a nice car that I could not afford, and I could not put petrol in it. But I was trying to create an image of success when really it was just somebody just desperately trying to prove themselves to their family, to their friends, to the people that said that you're not going to get anywhere now. And hindsight, that was the wrong way to go, because I didn't have any money. And it just was the wrong way to go. It really was. But we got there in the end. And as I say, there's a lot of people that have helped the industry that I'm in. I can't tell you enough how much they've propped me up, and they've supported me, and they've been there and become friends. I have a lot of really good friends in this industry, and they've done everything they possibly can to keep me and my sense of where I want this to go. They've been behind every step of the way. So I have a massive gratitude, but also I look up to every single one of them. I really do.
The power of communities, right?
Massive. I didn't know that until I was later on down the line, and I started to experience what these people were about, and how much they were willing to help a young guy that needed a leg up. So yeah.
Oh, Thomas, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm saying this because
I've never spoken about this to anybody. So there you go, guys. If you're on this, then there you go. This is just water. Just saying.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's just last week I was sharing my story of the last couple of months, and also I'm quite vocal about when I started WHTT, what were the challenges. And you would think, one thing that I was really concerned about is that how people's perception towards me are going to be once I get a child, because I want a career.
Yes.
And people assume these type of mindsets and challenges only happen to women, because they are the ones who are having the babies.
Yes.
I mean, physically.
I'd agree. I'd agree. Can't fault you there. No, I think it's one of these things where I am a massive supporter of women being, one, empowered, and two, being able to make their own choices for them and not be judged. Because I myself, granted, being a man, my experience has been different for obvious reasons, but I know myself being judged wrongly just for my age and being a parent. But I know for a fact that my girlfriend at the time, who then became my wife, she was judged worse than I was. She was, all sorts of things were said about her, and it was terrible. So no, I think obviously your age and my partner's age at that time were very different. But no, I can imagine from a woman's perspective, becoming a parent changes more than everything, and the perception of you can also be affected massively.
And how did this affect you now as a grown-up man in terms of setting your goals and empowered by community? Again, starting from myself, I just wanted to give back and empower others
Yes.
within the community I felt I belonged to. So
Yeah.
do you, how much did it direct you in a way or shape you?
Massively. I think there's two parts to this, I think, really. One of them is towards my industry, the hospitality industry and revenue management and so on. I've been so hell-bent on driving positive change. Of course, I recruit within my industry, that's a given. But on the side of that, I am massively involved in trying to push things forward and trying to drive things into a positive direction, especially in times like this. And I've been very recognized and known for that, which is great. But something that I'm very passionate about that I don't talk about with anybody, to be quite honest with you, it never comes up and nobody knows that my business actually does it. And that's something that an arm of my business focuses on: youth support. And when I say youth support, I mean down the employability route. Now, it's obviously touched a bit of a heartstring with me because of my background, being a young parent and not thinking that, not believing and not experiencing like I got the support that I desperately needed at the time. And now my business has a pretty large focus on youth between the ages of 16 and 25. Now, these youth can come from all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of walks of life, including, drug addiction, homelessness, broken homes. There's lots of different situations that these guys are coming from. And what sort of my workshop does with organizations that works with these guys is basically providing workshops to build confidence, self-belief, everything that I didn't have for years, but also actual professional skills. So active listening, preparing for interviews, presentation of yourself in terms of not just suit and tie, but also general hygiene. A lot of the guys, if it's one of these things that if you don't know, you don't know. It's just one of those things. And
Yeah.
My experience is one of these things where in my profession, you work generally with pretty good fees. It's all money, money, money. But I've never felt the sense of achievement and sense of satisfaction than I have than dealing with some of these people. I'd never done it before. I'd never had the opportunity. I remember when I was 23, I was 23 years old, and I contacted my local MP and I said, I'd love to go back to my secondary school and talk to sixth formers and year 11 students and so on about employment and about getting into employment, and nothing's ever set in stone. If something happens, there's always something that can be done. And unfortunately at the time it didn't go anywhere. I started contacting schools myself, but of course I was a 23-year-old guy who didn't have any credibility at all, and it didn't go anywhere. And now I have the opportunity to make some incredible change to a lot of people's lives. And we've worked with lots of different organizations all over the UK, including YMCA, Youth Focus, Morrison's Trust, local councils, the government. We've been working really hard to get these guys into employment. And we did a stat I feel like the light's going here. We generated some stats, and 70% of the young people that we've worked with are now in full-time employment.
Oh, wow.
And they'd never had an interview. They'd never been given that opportunity. And we got an email so one of the workshops that we did early last year, we got an email from one of the support workers for one of the people, and he'd managed to get a job. But not only that, is he'd managed to save to a point where he was able to put money up with his girlfriend and with the help of her parents, and they've managed to get their own house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this guy, he was a gentleman called Matthew, and Matthew unfortunately had nearly died 3 times, and his life was difficult, and it resonated so much with me, and to hear that story, I'm not gonna lie, I did tear up. It did hit me where it hurts, but that's what I mean. It was the biggest game changer for me, and my perspective of everything changed. You know, the nice car on the drive and then house and everything else, it just became immaterial. It didn't matter anymore. And I went back to, I suppose, feeling like I'd achieved something and felt like I'd finally got to where I wanted to be, and feeling the way I was, you know, when I was 17. I thought that this would never happen. And to be able to give that back was priceless. Isn't even the term that would quantify it. It was something else. I'd never experienced something like that before. And now it's a well-established part of our business. We're contracted to help these people, and we work with organizations that have fundraisings from all sorts of different areas. But it's certainly something we're passionate about and something that we love to drive. But as I said, in the circles that I'm in, I'm always quite scared, because I'm worried that my clients will think, is he really a specialist in that market if he's looking at these different areas? And I'm terrified of people's perception still to this day. And I think that's ingrained in me from, again, when I was 17 and had a child young, and people judge me. And if I'm working with people from these different backgrounds, are they going to judge me again? And that's a terrifying thing for me, I think.
Wow. And how do you get over that you know, feeling of, you know, how you are going to be, you know, the how people perceive you, or you know, they see you as an expert, or they judge you? How do you get over all those feelings before you get into something?
It's a funny one. It's still to this day. So I obviously lecture at all these top universities, and I speak at many different events and things like this, and I'm always on panels with people that are 10, 20 years my senior, and they are much more experienced and much more connected and so on. And yet I still get asked to do these things, and I'm always incredibly nervous beforehand, because again, their perception of me is terrifying, because I think to myself, you know, if they only knew my background, if they only knew the disappointment I was for such a long time, or if they only knew this or that and the other, would they think differently of me? That's the terrifying fact for me a lot of the time. How do I get over it? I take an enormous deep breath, and I think about what I've achieved thus far. I look at my partner, and she generally is able to calm me down quite nicely. It's yeah. But it's true. I don't know if I ever will get over it, if I'm honest. But I do think that it's made me who I am, and it's made me it's got me to this point in my career, and where I am with the business. And in a lot of ways, I'm incredibly grateful for it, because I don't know if I would be who I am today without it. I know a lot of people say, you know, don't regret anything, and you know, if what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and so on. And I do agree with those things. I do believe that every life experience that I've had has brought me to where I am now. And I think without it, I don't know if I would own the business I own. I don't know if I would be able to help the people I help. I don't even know what mindset I would be in. I don't know if if I ended up being able to live my teens and my 20s going on lads holidays all over the world and messing about, rather than having to work 9 to 5 from the age of 18, 20, working 3 or 4 different jobs, just trying to keep things going. But yeah, I think I remain incredibly grateful, incredibly humble, and I take every moment as it comes.
I'm so sorry for breaking the moment. We've got 2 babies in the room.
Oh, no.
One thing I wanted to tell you, now that it's just you and I found it incredibly healing, actually starting to talk about the journey. And not only to put myself there as the perfect person, because that can never happen. There is no such things as perfection. But actually the things that made me scared the most, this is what I talk about the most,
Yeah.
And this is what this series should be also about, to highlight the fact that I actually have panic attacks while we are talking.
Yeah.
But you should really take the time to actually talk about these things, both the highs and the lows.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's one of these strange things, isn't it? We sort of come to the point where we are adults and we've got children and we've become married, or we've got the house, we've got the car, we've got the dog, we've got the kids, we've ticked all the boxes. What happened?
Yeah.
Your mindset changes over that period of time, and life experience obviously affects you and so on. So it's an odd hello.
It's
See,
just the right icon here.
Mine is 13 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very different.
Yeah, there is all sorts of family getting in right now. These are the situations. Tom, well, Chris is actually writing that he would love to have a chat with you to collaborate in some projects when it comes to supporting youth. Chris is building up a support network to provide trainings on diversity and inclusion.
Can he hear me now? Can Chris hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So Chris, if he is still on the chat, drop me a message. More than happy to discuss. I'm actually getting involved with a forum, and I'm creating a forum for about 60 to 80 professionals across the UK that want to help youth. But rather than just talk about it and complain about it and so on, I'm actually putting together some strategies to be able to help and be able to actually drive things forward. Rather than, as I say, just sitting in these environments where people just complain about, the youth need more support, they need this, they need that, where we'll actually be able to do it. So no, Chris, please drop me a message and we can definitely pick something up or have a call at some point this week. I'd love that, to be honest.
Great. Yeah. Well, Tom, there is one more fun part.
Okay.
I wanted to, in advance, thank you for being this incredibly honest and sharing your story. And I think I will rewatch it again and again and again as a source of strength. It also shows, and I talked about it in a previous trial, there are so many layers of diversity, and we sometimes get exposed to one layer or the other, whether we are talking about race or we are talking about gender, but actually age as being a factor of diversity, or socioeconomic levels being a level of diversity, it's not talked about enough. And your life story and your experiences just show that there needs to be more awareness to it.
Yes.
And and another question, I just wrapped an interview before we started, and the interviewer asked me if men were welcome in the group, and I think intersectionality is really, really important, and supporting other communities in other levels of diversities is really important. And your story resonates to, there were viewers in during this live resonating with it, not coming from the same gender, but the same type of experience and the same diversity level. So just wanted to quietly express again the gratitude for opening up. And then wrapping up this section, are you ready for the final and most fun part of the role model interview, which is the private questionnaire?
All right.
So to everybody who is now watching, this is the section of the interview that I was really wanting to do from the beginning, because I'm a huge fan of Hollywood and talk shows, as we know. Pivot questionnaire was asked every single time in a show called Inside the Actors Studio, and the recently passed James Lipton, who was the host of Inside the Actors Studio, asked every single time the same 10 questions from every single Hollywood actor. So these questions are now going to you, Thomas Finn. Are you ready?
I think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, question number one: what's your favorite word?
What's my favorite word? Grind.
Nice. Okay, want us now why. What is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word. Least favorite word. Oh, I do actually have one. Pudding. I hate the word pudding.
Oh, yeah, it's my brother hates cream. Like every single time he has to say cream, it's like, so I can understand the pudding. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
What turns me on? Do you know what? Right, it's one again. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I love cooking, and I find it therapeutic. But it also gets me going. As soon as I get into the kitchen and I've got some ingredients and I've got my knives all sharp and everything else, I'm like in the zone. That's what turns me on. But I think on a wider thing, art, but not just art as in painting, but music, film, art. Yeah, art really gets me going. So creativity gets me going. There you go.
Nice. Well, cooking is a type of expression in
I would
creativity.
definitely say that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what turns you off, on the other hand?
What turns me off? What turns me off? That's a really good question. Wow, I'm easily turned on apparently. Um, what turns me off? What turns me off? Oh, actually, yeah, I do have one, and this is a really odd one. I know. Forgive me here. Oh, I don't even know how you'd explain it. I don't
Describe.
know. What turns me off? What turns me off? Oh, this is a weird one. This is weird, but this one actually does. Late, being late, people being late to me being late anywhere. It's I hate it. I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
Really? Oh, okay.
I have no idea if I've got something going on the day before. Everything is laid out on a table. I have OCD to the nth degree. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and another very well organized person. Other layers of being different.
Yeah.
What is your favorite curse word, Thomas?
Fuck.
Nice. What what sound or noise do you love?
Sound and noise I love. This is a very soppy one. Well, there's two. There's either my son laughing when he was very young, or one of my puppies doing this howl because it melts my heart every time. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh my God. What sound or noise do I hate? Okay, I do actually have one, and this is awful coming from a parent, but a screaming baby, I can't handle it. I used to have to take my son in the car and drive around the block just to get him to stop. So no, but I can say that to a parent.
I think parents can relate to that very much. Don't worry. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh wow. What other profession? Oh my God, of course, chef. I'd love to be a chef. Incredible amount of stress, but yeah, I would love to be a chef. But probably in a really small boutique type restaurant that only had about 10 covers.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, it's a good goal. We have some members that are, restaurant owners or trainers or whatever. So more than happy to hook you up there. What profession would you not like to attempt?
Skydiving instructor, because I'm terrified of heights.
Yeah.
Mine. Yeah.
Last but not least, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
So if he saw me at the pearly gates, he'd probably say, "We have some things to discuss."
Let's go back to the start.
Yeah, just hold on a second, step into my office. I think we need to have a couple of words said before we go any further. That's probably what he would say.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Thomas, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much again for everything and sharing your experience. And yeah, look forward to just do some other joint,
Definitely.
activities together.
Yeah, definitely. It's, as I said, it's been great sort of appearing on this, because, as I said, I've been able to talk about things that are very personal to me, that I've never shared with anybody in sort of my professional life, in a forum, especially like this. So thank you to obviously you, Rita. Thank you to obviously Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech, and thank you to everybody who's watching. And I hope that what I've said has resonated with a couple of people, and I haven't been too emotional, depressing. That was not my intention.
Yeah. Thank you so much again, and
Hi,
have a nice.
by the way.
Sorry.
Hi, Susan. By the way, I keep
Oh
saying.
yeah, Susan is here watching all the time. So this is public, Tom.
Yeah, tell me about it. My stuff's recorded.
Great. Thank you again. Have a nice evening and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And see you again next week. Bye.